Palmer Show. You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Locking down the middle of the day. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hunt Palmer coming to you from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studio downtown in the capital city on this Wednesday, I guess. I don't think anybody knows what day of the week it is. It's just that weird little zone between Christmas and the New Year's where you try to just get on through it. We're going to get you through the next 2 hours here on ESPN Baton Rouge. Appreciate you making us part of your day. If you're still traveling, do so very, very safely, and we'll hope to keep you a little company as you do so. If you're back in the office today, back on the grind today, we'll get you through that too here on the Hunt Palmer Show. Got JD Piquel coming up in 15 minutes. He's always with us on Wednesdays. Going to have Sharif Ishak in hour number 2, usually a Tuesday guest with us, but we'll talk some Saints and some Pels with Sharif in hour number 2. Michael Cauble from WBRZ will be with us talking some LSU football in hour number 2 as well. It's a What If Wednesday. Got some time to get some of those in, so if you've got a What If Wednesday you want to throw our way, please do. We'll be with you here until 3 o'clock. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the ones and twos. And pumped to be back in the saddle today. I want to start kind of talking about this bowl game. LSU will play Wisconsin on New Year's Day. It'll be 11 o'clock kickoff over in Tampa. The team has taken off and arrived in Tampa yesterday. Brian Kelly is going to meet with the media today. They'll go through some practices, do the bowl activities as one does. And I think from an LSU perspective, the biggest story in this game is obviously the start for Garrett Nussmeier. It'll be the first start in his LSU career, and he'll do so with essentially all the other pieces of the top offense in college football at his disposal. Now, we all know that Jaden Daniels was a big part of why this offense was really, really good, but the supporting cast is very good as well. You've got an offensive line that was a finalist for the Joe Moore Award. You've got a player that'll likely become the school's all-time receptions leader in terms of yards as well as catches. You've got another guy that could potentially go in the first round in Brian Thomas. You've got a great tight end. You've got a healthy stable of backs that should be ready to roll. So it's a comfortable landing spot for Garrett Nussmeier in this game. There's no question about that. Now, there's a little bit of upheaval because you lose Mike Denbrock, who's been the primary play caller, and you switch those duties over to Joe Sloan and Cortez Hankton, and maybe that's a little bit of instability. But I think with the offense being the same, with the relationship that Garrett Nussmeier has with Joe Sloan, and the fact that it's not like Garrett Nussmeier's been taking play calls from Mike Denbrock for 2 years. That's been Jaden Daniels' job. So I don't think it's that big an issue for Nussmeier. I think he'll be in a pretty comfortable spot there. And I also believe that this, as a group of observers, whether you're fans or covering the team or whatever, in terms of what we can take from this game, I think it's a good test because Wisconsin has a good defense. It's not, I wouldn't call it elite. I wouldn't call it dominant. I would just call it good. They played a bad schedule, and they've played good defense. They're number 18 in the country in scoring defense. They're in the top 45 in run defense, pass defense, total defense, sacks, tackles for loss, 20-yard plays against, 40-yard plays against. They've been really solid. We know that LSU has done a phenomenal job of creating big plays. That was one of the main talking points that we had when we were talking about Jaden Daniels and his chance to win the Heisman Trophy, just how many chunk plays Daniels accounted for. And look, Wisconsin is number 17 in the country in 20-plus yard plays allowed. They're number 11 in the country in 40-plus yard plays allowed. So one of the better units in the country in terms of their limiting big plays. You look at the scores that they allowed in Big Ten play. I didn't really care what you did in the non-conference, but against the Big Ten teams that they played, Minnesota only scored 14 points, Nebraska 17, Northwestern 24, Indiana scored 20. Ohio State, probably the most comparable team talent-wise to LSU. Scored 24 points. In that game, they had 407 yards of offense. Illinois had 20. Iowa had 15. I don't think Iowa's offense and LSU's are all that comparable, but they only allowed 15 points to the Hawkeyes in a loss, I might add. Rutgers only scored 13. Purdue only scored 17. Again, the schedule's trash. It's a terrible schedule, but they're only allowed 18.3 points per game in Big Ten play. I think that's pretty good. They're led by Hunter Wohler. He leads all Power 5 defensive backs in tackles. He's got 113. He also leads Wisconsin in tackles. C.J. Getz has 11 tackles for loss at outside linebacker. Ricardo Holman leads all cornerbacks in college football with 6 interceptions on the year. So they've got some nice pieces, and as best I can tell, those defensive pieces are sticking around. There have been some offensive opt-outs for this game for Wisconsin. Their leading rushers are not going to play, and I can't see that any of these guys have opted out. Maybe that happens, but as far as I know, the defense should be intact. So I think you get a pretty good look at Garrett Nussmeier in this game. I don't think there are any caveats you need to throw in when we analyze this thing when it's over. And I told you this, there are going to be massive overreactions, in my opinion, to what Garrett Nussmeier does in this game, because it's low-hanging fruit. It is what it is. You're already on to the next season, and whether or not LSU can get into the expanded playoff and what things look like against USC, and all those wheels start turning in this game. And the fact of the matter is that Garrett Nussmeier will have an entire offseason to work on his game, to understand the offense, to grow into a leadership role, and to get to know the guys around him, because we don't believe Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas are going to be part of that group. However, I'm not going to overreact, but I do think that there's a really good landing spot and some information that can be gleaned from this game. I don't think you have to say, oh, yeah, but everybody opted out, or, oh, yeah, well, you were playing an awful team. It's not like Leonard Fournette running all over that Texas Tech garbage defense. This is a defense that has put up a fight all year long. Ohio State with Marvin Harrison and that group that they've got over there that's really good on the outside didn't go up and down the field on them. They only scored 24 points in that game. So I think anything that you take positively from this game with Garrett Nussmeier, I think stands up when you move into next year. And I think he's going to play well. It's going to be a different offense than the one you saw with Jaden Daniels. That offense had a lot more quarterback run, I think, than you're going to see in the game coming up this weekend. I think that they'll do more with Garrett Nussmeier in terms of the quick passing game and then take some shots, and Jaden grew into that role as well. I think there will be more quote-unquote traditional run where you give the running back the ball as opposed to the read option stuff you see in the background. There'll be some read option stuff, I'm certain, with Garrett Nussmeier, but not quite as much, I don't think, as you saw with Jaden Daniels. I'm curious how much action Malik Neighbors gets in this game. I'm curious if you get 4 quarters of him, if you get 21 yards of him. And it feels like if Brian Thomas is going to go out there, you'll probably see him for the majority of this game. Now, the coaches may take an opportunity to get a look at some of the freshmen, like they took an opportunity last year to get Garrett Nussmeier some reps in this game. If you remember, in the bowl game last year, Garrett Nussmeier played about 50-50 with Jaden Daniels. They got both guys a lot of snaps. Now, Purdue had nothing left. Their coach was gone. Their quarterback was gone. Their running back, tight ends were gone. They were a shell of the Purdue team that had gotten to the Big Ten championship game. But still, LSU took an opportunity to get Garrett Nussmeier some looks, and I'm curious, maybe you see some younger receivers get some looks maybe as the game progresses, whether that's Aaron Anderson, Shelton Sampson, Kyle Parker. We saw those guys working out at practice last week, and everybody looked pretty good. So, again, I think that the bowl game is not what it once was, and I think that the coaches realize that. And I do believe that there will be an intentional move made to get some younger players some playing time in this game. It doesn't mean you throw winning and losing out the window. I think that the staff and the players, are committed to going down there and trying to win the game. But I think they're going to go down there and try to win the game with the intention to get some younger guys a little bit of action. Maybe that would have been the case for Nussmeier if Jaden Daniels played. Maybe not. They certainly did last year. But with Nussmeier getting the full keys to the car and Jaden Daniels opting out of the game, I think with the statistics that Wisconsin has put together, with some of the personnel that they have, I don't think there's any caveats to a positive performance from Garrett Nussmeier. I don't think you could just say, oh well, it's Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas. They're just so good. I mean, this is a good defense. They got the nation's interception leader. They've held Big Ten teams under 20 points for the majority of the season. I'm excited to see what the future of LSU kind of looks like, and I think this is our first look at that with Garrett Nussmeier taking all of the reps with the ones, and it's a pretty good offensive unit he's going to take to the field coming up on Monday. Tomorrow will be my last show before the game. The game's on Monday, and we won't have shows on Monday. I'm out on Friday, so tomorrow I will give you my final thoughts on the ReliaQuest Bowl, and I'll give you a pick on the ReliaQuest Bowl. But I do think before we get into the outcome, the wins and losses, that there'll be some information to be gleaned here from Garrett Nussmeier, and I'm excited to get to see what he can do after really waiting his turn for, I guess, 3 years in Baton Rouge. So I'm excited. Check that out in the bowl game. It's a What If Wednesday. If you got some what ifs, get at us in the Bayou Ford chat over on YouTube. You can also hit me up on Twitter. I'm currently in the middle of a bickering match between Richard Condon and someone who disagrees with him, and I'm being replied to in every single tweet. So we're going to have to dig down the Twitter replies to get the what ifs, but there are some on Twitter. So if you got some more, hit us up on Twitter or the Bayou Ford app. We got Cauble coming up in 45 minutes. Got Sharif Ishak in about an hour and a half. Stick with us. It is a Wednesday edition of the Hunt Palmer Show.
You are now listening to the Hunt Palmer Show. Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition. $15,000 off new Ford Expedition. And all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
The importance of doing this fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. And I think we're rocking and rolling.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust poll of the day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the poll of the day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
patented non-toxic dry fog treatment that will kill mold, remove odor, destroy other harmful pathogens. Same great service and friendly staff, just a new name, Pure Restoration. You can learn more online at pure-restoration.com. That's pure-restoration.com. Pure Restoration can handle mold remediation, demolition, build back, sanitization. Get your free quote online, pure-restoration.com.
After further review with Matt Moscona, weekday afternoons from 3 to 6 on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Brandon Holly here. You want a company that has a true lifetime warranty? ReliefWindows.com, baby.
Sandgrove, join me and Jimmy Ott for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Dwayne Colucci and Paul Nolan will be with us live at lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along here on this Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show. Appreciate you hanging out with us, and appreciate J.D. Piquel hanging with us all year long on Wednesdays. He joins us now on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. J.D., Merry Christmas. How are you?
Brother, we're back at it like a bad habit. Good to be on with you. Merry Christmas to you and yours as well.
Let's talk a little football. We've got a playoff that's going to Final Four team edition of the playoff that'll get underway this weekend. Your excitement level, is it pretty high for this one?
Oh, it's high as it gets. High as it gets, man. I think it's hilarious the matchups we got too. You got like the classic poetic college football matchup between Michigan and Alabama. I mean, two iconic brands, and you got the sunset off the mountains and the best venue in all of sports. Then you got two teams that may break the scoreboard. I saw the over hanging right around in that low 60s. That looks extremely appetizing to kind of recoup what we lost on Christmas presents. But I digress. Should be a great final.
So first game is Alabama-Michigan out in the Rose Bowl. Michigan's a 1.5 favorite here. Where's your confidence level in Jalen Milroe right now?
Confidence level is pretty high. I mean, you give him a full month to prep, and he only threw one interception in the month of November. I feel like they really have leaned into his strengths, which I think a lot of people are seeing. And the thing with me, Hunt, like watching them play against Georgia, Jalen Milroe wasn't Superman. Like, I think he had somewhere in the range right around 200 yards passing. He was, like, reasonably efficient, had some nice scrambles. But, like, the big takeaway for me was Bama can just play their game. And if it's good enough to beat Georgia, I have a hard time believing it's not going to be good enough to beat Michigan if he doesn't have that costly turnover kind of game that he's been known to have in different points throughout his career. So good Jalen Milroe, good vibes in Tuscaloosa, and I think they're going to lean into his legs, and I think he's kind of the difference maker in that Rose Bowl.
Is Alabama closer to the team that should have lost to Auburn or the team that really beat up Georgia?
I think they're closer to that team that beat up Georgia. And it's such a cop-out answer to talk about the Iron Bowl for what I'm about to say, but, like, I really have a hard time assigning how much value I give to that game. Because, like, the Iron Bowl, I mean, we talked about it going into that game. Just weird things happen. Nothing about that game ever makes sense for whatever reason. There's always just some bounce of the ball plays that kind of make you scratch your head and you chalk it up to Iron Bowl magic. And so I think while there's some things that are concerning about that game schematically for me, most notably Peyton Thorne kind of doing numbers like Goodwill Hunting on the ground against them. J.J. McCarthy's also a good athlete and can make some things happen in the run game. Overall, man, I'm feeling a lot more like the team we saw against Georgia is the team that's going to show up in Pasadena.
What has Michigan been missing when they get to the playoffs?
It's a really good question. I think the first thought that comes to mind there, Hunt, for me is experience. And people push back and say, well, that team that played in the playoff against Georgia, they came back that next year. Well, it's like I think they lost somewhere north of 3/4 of that defense from the Georgia playoff game to the TCU playoff game. And then you switch out your quarterback from Cade McNamara to J.J. McCarthy. I don't know about you, and there's going to be a lot of jokes about sign stealing. I think that's all well warranted. But the team that played against TCU, it felt like Michigan was just one a little bit, I don't know if deer in the headlights is the word, but they looked far too cute for what we had seen throughout the course of the year. Like there were a couple plays in the red zone where they're like throwing screen passes on like the 5-yard line to Roman Wilson to try and get him in the end zone. And I'm like, what are we doing? Like, Michigan's been the bully all year long. Let's kind of double down on that. So, I mean, you pair that with the 2 pick sixes from a season ago, and that kind of wrote the story. But I think the experience from last year for this team, they're top 5 in returning production from a season ago. A lot of these guys came back for this opportunity. I think it's going to be one heck of a ball game, man. I can't wait. So the experience factor, I think, is really what they've missed, and now they have it.
Who are you picking in that one?
I still got Bama, man. I have a hard time believing that Michigan's going to be able to keep pace with Alabama if they get up 10 points or 14 points. Like, I don't love their ability to get after them in that sense. I also just, by nature of what we saw in the SEC title game, I know transitive property doesn't necessarily apply in college football, but man, like, if that Georgia defense, even as banged up as they were, if they're as athletic as they are on that second level, as good as Michigan is, I don't know that they're more talented or more, I guess versatile is the right word to chase down Jalen Milroe. Because like Jalen Milroe and what they were doing in the design quarterback run game against those linebackers, like, it wasn't like Georgia was off balance or surprised. Like, they couldn't handle it. So if Georgia can't handle it, I don't know if I like Michigan to handle it. I'll take the tie. I think it's close, but I do think Alabama ends up finding themselves in Houston in a little homecoming for Katie's very own Jalen Milroe.
Do you expect Jim Harbaugh back at Michigan next year?
Man, I did until over Christmas break, where we started hearing stuff about Brian Kelly and the smoke around the Michigan job. Like, I truthfully am out of my depth speaking authoritatively on the Brian Kelly situation, all the rumors around Michigan. I just think all that's gone on with Michigan talking about wanting to extend him and all the talk around, the sign stealing stuff and still having the contract extensions go further. Also, like, I don't know what job in the NFL is more attractive than Michigan with, the, I guess, projected success that you could have if you were to take an NFL job. Now, if they win the national title, maybe that changes things. At that point, you probably have done all you want to do at the collegiate level, and you say, okay, let's go chase some Lombardis. But I really, outside of a week ago, Hunt, I would have said, without a doubt, I expect Jim Harbaugh back. But at this point, man, I think if they win the national title, I think he's gone.
JD Piquel is host of The Hard Count on On3 Sports YouTube channel. You can subscribe to it, get all your college football chatter. Let's talk about the one down here in Louisiana. It's the Sugar Bowl between Texas and Washington. Who's got the quarterback edge in this game?
Oh, man, I walked right into that one. I was ready to talk about game plan. I was ready to talk about the flow of the game. I mean, if I had to pick a quarterback that I needed to go win me some money at the county fair or win me a stuffed animal at the county fair, I'd probably take Michael Penix Jr. because I think he's been, even though he hasn't had, the consistent touchdown production every single game. I've been critical of his Heisman campaign, having 2 games with no touchdown passes. I still think the inconsistency we've seen from Quinn Ewers throughout his 2 years at Texas, I would give the slight edge to Michael Penix Jr. But to be real, Hunt, I mean, there's a lot of teams out there that would very obviously and very quickly trade their kicker and their left arm to be able to have either one of those guys.
Who's got the head coach advantage in this game?
I'll take Sark just from the experience standpoint. I think his time in Tuscaloosa, being around Saban, being around the GOAT, I think he catch a little bit of that magic, and I think he kind of has a feel for the way they want to do things. And I think also that game in Tuscaloosa, they played in week 2, have to believe not just the confidence, but also the preparation to walk into a game like that. I mean, let's be honest, for all, the vibes that were around that game kind of felt like a playoff game for both those teams. Now it ended up not being a playoff game, but game day was there, and they went on the road. This will be a neutral site. So I think I'll give the experience to Sark in terms of preparation. How much that matters, though, I'm curious to see.
Who do you like in the game?
I like Texas, man. I think when it comes down to the game flow, I had to take myself back to when we had NCAA 14, and we get the new one soon, hallelujah. But I'm thinking, like, when I was playing with my buddy, and we're both scoring almost every possession, which could very well be how this game goes. Neither secondary is great. Both are scoring over 35. We talked about the quarterbacks. I mean, both receiver rooms look like NFL wide receiver rooms with the guys that will play on Sundays from there. And so when I think about, going back to that situation of like, hey, we're scoring every possession, who ends up winning is usually, 2 things go into that. One is who gets that big turnover. And I think Texas, with what they have in that front 7, could maybe create one of those, whether it's, jumping an underneath pass or just being disruptive in general. And the other part of this, the other guy that wins that game in the video game world is who can slow down the game, who can kind of downshift gears. And with Texas running for right around 200 yards a game or in that neighborhood of that, I think they have the best ability to shape shift. And I think they'll be able to come out on top in New Orleans. But again, another one where like the entertainment value will be extremely high. And I think we're set for 2 really, really good playoff games.
The real winner here is the city of New Orleans, because I'm told that Texas has a big fan base. I'm told that it has a lot of money. I think they really want to win, and they're one state over and can get easy flights and drives in. I think they are going to flood the city of New Orleans for the next week.
Cha-ching. I mean, like the Deion Sanders to Colorado effect, it's going to be the Texas to Sugar Bowl effect, and just a lot of greenbacks, hopefully, for that city. A lot of greenbacks.
Is there a non-playoff game that's got your attention, whether it's Ole Miss, Penn State, Georgia, Florida State? I don't know who's going to play in that game. Got opt-outs everywhere. Is there another game, maybe Missouri, Ohio State, that's interesting to you?
Yeah, that was the one, Missouri, Ohio State. Just for the way that both teams are trending, I know we sit here in December after Ohio State lost to Michigan, and we're all like, hey, what's up with Ryan Day? What's up with the Buckeyes? And it's like, it's still a one-loss team that, really was a drive away from probably having a ticket punch for the college football playoff. No Kyle McCord in this one, obviously. Man, I can't wait to watch Devin Brown. He was our number 1 player, I believe, in the class of 2022 when he came out. Dude is a stud. And I also look back to what Kyle McCord did at Ohio State. I don't know that he did anything physically that Devin Brown can't do. And with as aggressive as Missouri is defensively, I think that's going to be a really good test and a really good kind of litmus point for us to see, does Ohio State need to go to the portal to get a quarterback? Are they still bent on getting a quarterback if, Devin Brown goes and throws 300 yards and 3 touchdowns? Is that still the direction that we end up going in Columbus? So a lot of storylines and a lot of 2024 implications, I think, for both sides. So I'm watching that one pretty closely.
LSU will play Wisconsin in the Relia Quest Bowl on New Year's Day. No Jaden Daniels, but the rest of the offense that was the best in the country remains pretty much intact. And then the defense has had some trouble, but Wisconsin not great on the offensive side of the ball, and their leading rusher's not going to play. So any thoughts on LSU Wisconsin before I let you go?
Man, I'm still curious about what's going on in the portal with LSU, because I was under the impression, like, hey, it's the Garrett Nussmeier show next year. Pre-order your tickets. Get the 13 jerseys ready, baby. We're about to get after it. And then I see the Hayes Fawcett graphic pop up of A.J. Swan transfer to LSU. Yep. So now I'm wondering, like, hey, if Garrett Nussmeier, same story, second verse, goes out there and flips the ball around the yard a few times and has a big stat line, like, is A.J. Swan walking in as the backup? Do we got a quarterback battle to hold us over in the spring hunt? Like, that one I'm really curious about, and I'll obviously be watching to see what a young Garrett Nussmeier does.
Enjoy the football this weekend. We'll talk next week. Thanks, man.
Sounds good. Have a great one, brother. Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. That's J.D. Piquel, host of The Hard Count, part of the On3 Network, on the On3 YouTube channel. Subscribe up. J.D.'s got your college football wall to wall, and he's always with us on Wednesdays at 1:15. 30 minutes from now, we'll chat with Michael Cauble on some LSU football. Sharif Ishak at the bottom of hour number 2. When we come back, it's a What If Wednesday on The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
LWCC is Louisiana loyal. They're elevating and celebrating champions of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. Started right here in Baton Rouge, right in the backyard. Now all of a sudden they've come a long way from just carving bats in the backyard. They are on the forefront of baseball technology, and folks from all over the country come to Marucci Sports to experience it. They also have their Marucci World Series each and every year that brings thousands of youth athletes and coaches and players, families to Baton Rouge. They're a tourism boon for us in that way. If you know a champion of Louisiana like Marucci Sports, go to lwcc.com/champions and nominate a champion of Louisiana. Marucci Sports is a champion of Louisiana. LWCC is Louisiana loyal.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com. Follow us on Twitter at 1045ESPN to cast your vote in the Citizens Bank and Trust Poll of the Day. Vote daily inside Off the Bench, live at lunch, Hunt Palmer. And after further review, Citizens Bank and Trust brings you the Poll of the Day via Twitter at 1045ESPN.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
Hurry into your local Acura dealer for the Season of Performance event going on now.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps are held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call
on Thursday's OTB. Latest out of the Tigers in Wisconsin. Should you even be cheering for the Saints at this point? And a brand new edition of Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Trying to get back into flow here after a few days away. After Shreveport for Christmas and was out in New Orleans yesterday, and now back here. Got the kiddo's birthday today as well, so we'll celebrate the Myers man's second birthday this evening. It was funny. I was at my desk today, and I have a picture from the delivery room when Myers was born, me holding him, and I'm wearing the same shirt today that I was wearing that day. Just total coincidence. But happy birthday to the Myers man. We'll eat some pizza tonight. He probably won't eat any pizza because all he eats is chicken nuggets, but I'll eat some pizza and we'll see if he can eat some of it. All right.
He literally the only thing he eats is chicken nuggets?
He's not a very good eater. He eats chicken nuggets, like meatballs or meatloaf, any kind of meat that we like ground beef or whatever. He'll eat beans, like he likes white beans.
Okay.
And you're kind of running low after that. It's lasagna. He loves lasagna.
Wow. Okay.
Loves lasagna. He'll house lasagna. And one of those family size.
Oh, and the baked ziti, of course, as you told me before off air.
He does that as well. Let's play What If Wednesday.
Time, space, reality. It's more than a linear path. Where a single choice can branch out into infinite realities. Follow me and ponder the question, what if?
Alrighty, first one here. What if Brian Kelly gets asked about Michigan? Will he end a denial statement with "Have a great day!" exclamation point?
Probably not. Probably won't have a Les Miles situation there. I think if Brian Kelly is asked about Michigan, which, I mean, it's pretty easy to question to deflect. Michigan has a head coach. And Brian Kelly said in a press conference a couple of weeks ago, like, this is my last stop. This is where I'm done. That, to me, doesn't confirm that it's his last stop. You can say whatever you want in a press conference, and that's what I would do, too. Even if he did have eyes for another job, I would just deny that until you don't have to. I didn't have any problem with Nick Saban saying I'm not going to be the Alabama coach. It stops the questions, and you can get to work. So that is what it is. That'll be buzzing if that job opens up. But until that job opens up, I'm probably not going to give much thought to it.
All right, what if Akeem caught the ball?
Well, the Saints probably don't win that game. that was their first playoff win. It was obviously over the Rams. And so you have to wait and get into the Peyton Breeze era to get your first playoff win, very likely. So that's not great. I don't recall the exact situation of the score and the time of the game when he dropped it. I certainly remember him dropping it. Remember the Jim Henderson famous call. But I felt like they probably don't win the game. But in any event, you were trying to get to the Breeze and Peyton era. That's where you needed to get. So that there was a ceiling on some of those Aaron Brooks teams that did not exist with the Drew Brees teams.
What if the Saints acquired an actual quality quarterback before the season instead of Derek Carr?
Derek Carr is catching some heat in South Louisiana. I mean, the question is like who? Like, would you?
Yeah.
Could you have gotten up to get C.J. Stroud? I don't think so. He was the second pick in the draft. You didn't really have that much capital. I mean, is Baker Mayfield the guy you want? Is Jimmy Garoppolo? Are those guys decent quarterbacks? I mean, I think Baker's playing okay.
Certainly playing pretty well recently.
He's playing better now than he was obviously in that stretch where they were awful in October. But I mean, it just wasn't all that available. I remember when the Saints were looking to get into the quarterback market, we did a segment on this show where I took all the starters in the NFL and showed where they came from. And the vast majority of starting quarterbacks in the NFL are first-round picks from that organization. I mean, there are other situations. You've got your Dak Prescott, and you've got
Kirk
Cousins and that kind of thing. But the vast majority of guys are drafted early, and that's their guy. And so the Saints have not been in a position to do that and have never done it in their franchise's history since they drafted Archie Manning. They just don't draft quarterbacks in the first round. They've tried the free agent and the trade thing a couple of times, and with Jameis Winston and Derek Carr, it didn't work. With Drew Brees, it was a home run. So it's just hard to get that guy, and there are a lot of organizations that have battled to get it, and the Saints just haven't shown a propensity to go up there and draft a quarterback early.
All right, last one here. What if LSU had played just middle-of-the-road defense this year instead of horrible? I think we all know that answer.
Yeah, I mean, you obviously beat Ole Miss. You scored 48 points, I think, in that game and lost. So you beat Ole Miss if you play middle-of-the-road defense in that game. Do you beat Florida State? I don't know.
Yeah,
you didn't play very well on offense. Now, your Malik Neighbors fell down, and then Kyron Lacy had a monster third down drop, and so you kind of hurt yourself in that game. But I think the big game, obviously, that changes is the Ole Miss game. And then if you're playing a hypothetical thing, you need Jaden Daniels to play the fourth quarter against Alabama.
Yes.
If he doesn't do that, you're not going to beat them. So, I mean, obviously, that's a huge disappointment. I do think the case can be made that not playing playing terrible defense really only cost you one game. I think. I mean, you can make the argument for Bama and you can make the argument for Florida State, but I think it really only cost you one game. Now, that one game sent you from the Cotton Bowl or the Chick-fil-A Bowl or whatever the case may be to the ReliaQuest Bowl, so it's a pretty big deal instead of going 10-2, going 9-3. But it wasn't like you went 6-6 or something. Your offense was just so good that you were able to fight off a lot of mediocre teams and win those games. So I don't think a huge difference. That is What If Wednesday. I had another thought on Myers' picky eating. This has got to be maybe a first. He wouldn't eat a beignet this morning.
Really?
I mean, he loved it last year when we went. The Coffee Call has a deal where they do the number, and so we got a 1 last year and got a 2 this year. Just wouldn't eat it. My wife went to the lengths of taking the powdered sugar and trying to put it on his lip so he would taste it, and then he's like, "Oh, I do want to have that," and he still wouldn't go for it.
Interesting.
He just looks like no, and then he gets in his head like he's definitely not going to eat it.
Yeah,
so
then that's a
so you
wrap.
gotta look the other way. But the child just lives on lasagna and meatloaf. Like that's just about.
So he's like Garfield basically.
Does Garfield have an eating deal?
Well, lasagna.
Ah, that's true.
Lasagna, that's his thing.
We call everything lasagna to try to get him to eat it. If it's a different pasta or something,
It's lasagna.
Lasagna. Anya. Yeah. So no beignet today. So that means mom and dad got to eat half a beignet. So that wasn't all bad. All right. Some news coming out of Tampa regarding a very talented freshman on LSU's football team. Give you the latest from the guys over at the Bengal Tiger, part of the On3 Network, and we close out hour number 1.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our number one product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com.
The world's leaders in obesity research, obesity medicine, and obesity science are right here.
We're doing something that no one's ever done or trying to answer a question that no one's ever asked before.
Pennington is a real jewel when it comes to research.
We are finding the solutions to the world's worst chronic disease, which is obesity. Louisiana needs Pennington Biomedical.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Sandegriff joined me and Jimmy Ott for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Dwayne Colucci and Paul Nolan will be with us live at lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
And closing up hour one, we'll chat with Michael Cauble, WBRZ, coming up in 15 minutes. 4 college football bowl games today. First one got underway about 45 minutes ago. That is Virginia Tech and Tulane in the Military Bowl, presented by GoBowling.com, of course. Virginia Tech leads that one 10-7 with 2 minutes and 20 seconds to go in the first quarter. So the Green Wave taking on a 6-6 Virginia Tech team. At 4:30, North Carolina and West Virginia will play in the Duke's Mayo Bowl. That game's not super exciting, but seeing a coach get mayonnaise dumped all over him is always a highlight of bowl season. That'll happen for somebody coming up here this evening. 7 o'clock on Fox, Louisville and USC. I'm just going to assume Caleb Williams is not playing in that game for the Trojans. And then at 8 o'clock tonight, Texas A&M, or what's left of that football program, taking on Oklahoma State. Oklahoma State 9-4 on the season. They're 3.5-point favorites. You're talking about a third-team quarterback there for Texas A&M, a defense that's lost a lot of players into the transfer portal, an offense that's lost a few guys into the transfer portal. Bobby Petrino's not there anymore. He's working for Arkansas at this point. You've got interim coach there. That's a mess in College Station. We'll see if Oklahoma State can take care of them in the Tax Act Texas Bowl. As I teased coming into this segment, some news trickling out of LSU's camp in Tampa, and I want to give attribution here. The guys over at On3, the Bengal Tiger, are all over this, and Shea Dixon is reporting that Lance Hurd did not make the trip with LSU to Tampa. So obviously a five-star recruit, came in, big expectations, worked his way into the rotation at right tackle early in the season. They were kicking Emory Jones down to guard and taking Miles Frazier out of the game, and Hurd was playing right tackle. And it looked like Lance Hurd would eventually become the everyday right tackle. And that never happened. Emory Jones and Miles Frazier held him off, and while Hurd did play in every game, he never became the starter. He played on the field goal units and played a little bit in mop-up duty as well. There is no reason being given for why Lance Hurd has not made the trip to Tampa. This time of year, it can be a lot of things. It could certainly be a situation where a player is looking at another opportunity and wants to get into the transfer portal. There are grades that have to be made at this point in the calendar. People can get sick at this point in the calendar. There are always opportunities for suspension. So there's no real need for us to speculate on what the reason is for Lance Hurd not being out there. Just know that he's not there. That's a guy who, as I kind of looked at next year's roster, kind of had him penciled in as the right tackle with Emory Jones moving down. I don't know what Garrett Dellinger and Miles Frazier's future are. Maybe both of those guys come back, and maybe there's not a spot for Lance Hurd to be assured a starting spot next year. And if that's the case, a lot of times that's when guys look for an opportunity to play. We know this, that Lance Hurd is a very, very confident dude. He's the guy who said when he signed at LSU, I'm going to come in and be the left tackle. And they said, well, they've kind of got a freshman playing left tackle. And he goes, yeah, I played with Will in high school, and I'm going to be the left tackle. That's the kind of attitude you're talking about. And if you tell somebody that's got that kind of ambition, that kind of confidence, that potentially another year could come and go where they're not a starter, like that's a tough thing to swallow at times. So I'm sure Brian Kelly's going to be asked about this. And we'll see what determination he makes. We spent all last week with National Signing Day coming and going, talking about the stability that LSU had created in the offensive line room. And you've obviously lost Marlon Martinez into the transfer portal. He's going to look to be for a place where he can start, and we'll see what happens with Lance Hurd. But even in the event that those two guys would be out the door, you still got a big group of high school signees that you've brought in, and that's the best way to absorb a little bit of attrition. The best way is not to bring in seniors to play for 1 year, and then you got to replace them again. If you can generate a group that's got 14 high school recruited linemen in it, then all of a sudden it becomes easier to deal with a little bit of attrition. That's just going to happen naturally in any event. LSU is going to be, I think, in very, very good shape next year on the offensive front. Will Campbell will be going into his third year. Emory Jones will be going into his third year. Garrett Dellinger could come back as a senior. Charles Turner is, I think he's got another year left, but I'm not 100% on that. You've got, obviously, DJ Chester, who could potentially slide in to the middle of your offensive line. Miles Frazier's got a decision to make. He would be a fourth or fifth year player. I think we're like 1 or 2 years away from me knowing how much eligibility guys have with who's got a COVID year and who doesn't. But there's so much depth that Brad Davis has created there that it feels inevitable that there would be a little bit of attrition on the offensive front because there's only 5 spots at starter. So you've seen that obviously with Marlon Martinez, and we're not certain what's going to happen. I can tell you that Lance Hurd was at practice last week when we went to the open practice. The group went out to practice today to cover the team over there in Tampa, and he was not there and did not, as Shea Dixon with On3 is reporting, he did not travel with the team. It's just such a weird time in college football. This month is so odd. As I was going through and listing those games, I mean, you're talking about an A&M team that has so little of its roster and coaching staff intact. You're talking about a former Heisman Trophy winner who's not playing in the game with USC tonight. And it's like there's no real – I guess you could open the transfer portal up in the middle of January, but folks have to enroll in schools, and they have to find out where they're going. So it feels like you have to do it in December. And when you do it in December, you just throw everything off with these bowl games because you've got, I mean, the situation where Texas A&M's current interim head coach, Elijah Robinson, is coaching A&M at practice and then going on an in-home recruiting visit for Texas A&M, for Syracuse with a Texas A&M commitment. It's Dominic McKinley. And he's wearing Syracuse stuff when he's recruiting, and that's the situation that we've created here, where we used to do coaching searches and all that kind of stuff happened closer to Christmas time or in January. Now you're talking about doing all this in December, so you've got a guy that's working for two different schools with a conflict of interest, trying to coach at one hand and recruit on the other. It's so odd that we've gotten to this point in the calendar. I don't have a great solution for you, but it certainly has created a lot of interesting situations. I mean, Keon Coleman opted out of the bowl game, the great Florida State receiver. Like, they don't have hardly anybody that's playing, and neither does Georgia. They got a bunch of people. They're like, yeah, I'm out on this one. That's like, these are two proud programs that had great seasons that didn't quite finish where they wanted them to, and then everybody's just like, I'm done. It's just you gotta. It's hard to handicap these games and talk about them. I'm scouring the internet this morning trying to make sure that I've got all of Wisconsin's opt-outs, so I don't start breaking down a player that's already announced he's not going to play. That's the plight of the sports talk host here in December. Not only do you have to look at the team, you got to look at who's decided they're not gonna play in this one. And so we don't know what the situation is with Lansard, other than to say that he is did not travel with the team to Tampa and was not present for the team's first practice, which was at Jesuit High School earlier today. So if any more information on that front comes available, we will certainly do our best to pass that along to you. Musso is going to be in for Matt a little bit later today. Matt's going to take the week, and so Musso will have all the updates for you as we move forward. If you're traveling today, coming back from some family time, we appreciate you spending it with us. You can always find all of our stuff on demand at 1045ESPN.com's On Demand tab. All of our shows are archived in their entirety there each and every day. It's Off the Bench, it's Live at Lunch, Hunt Palmer Show, AFR, all of them at the On Demand page on 1045ESPN.com. If you're more of an app listener, that's okay. We got you covered there wherever you find your podcast. You can find us Spotify, Google, Apple Podcast. Search The Hunt Palmer Show. Like, subscribe, rate, review. We always appreciate that. And you can also find us on YouTube each and every day. I got a couple of YouTube channels I'd love you to subscribe up to. Hunt on LSU is all the LSU content that your heart desires. It's all football. We do all football and recruiting there on Hunt on LSU. We've also got Hunt on Saints. My chat about the Dennis Allen era needing to come to an end very, very quickly is up there at Hunt on Saints. It's actually getting quite a number of interactions over on that video. Casey does a great job of taking those quick segments and putting those up each and every day. Open the show today talking about LSU's offense going against this Wisconsin defense and what Garrett Nussmeier's task is coming up in the ball game on Monday. You can catch that at Hunt on LSU. JD Piquel, host of the Hard Count on 3 Sports YouTube channel, was with us at 1:15 as he is each and every Wednesday. It was a What If Wednesday. What if Akeem caught the ball? What about BK going to Michigan? We answered all of those questions. You can catch all that content coming up on demand. Fired up for hour number 2. Michael Cauble going to be covering LSU over in Tampa for WBRZ. We'll chat some all things LSU football with Michael Cauble coming up at 2 o'clock. And excited to chat with Sharif at the bottom of the hour. The Saints have lost since we last spoke. They got thumped out there in L.A. They now come home And we'll get ready to go to Tampa, take on the first place Buccaneers. We'll chat with Sharif about that, as well as the Pelicans. The Pelicans can't get it done at the end of games, and they've let 2 get away from them against the Memphis Grizzlies. Got to get Sharif's thoughts on all of things New Orleans, which is kind of cranky. Sharif is a sunshine guy. Sharif loves the optimism. Sharif has picked the Saints to win the division the last couple of years. He usually picks the Saints to win. I'm curious if Sharif's still carrying on that infectious positivity with the way things are going down in the 504. We'll just have to find out coming up at the bottom of hour number 2. We're going to step aside, take a little bit of a break for Sports Center. We'll come back with Michael Caldwell talking LSU football right here on the Hunt Palmer Show.
Bayou Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram has $10,000 off MSRP on new 23 Jeep Grand Cherokee, $10,000 off new Jeep Grand Cherokee, and all new Bayou Automotive vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Automotive is going to do right by you. Bayou Ford is taking $15,000 off MSRP on new 23 Ford Expedition, $15,000 off new Ford Expedition, and all new Bayou Ford vehicles come with a 1 million mile warranty. The crew at Bayou Ford is going to do right by you.
His name was King. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Yo, Jake here from my friends over at Community Steel Company located in Gonzales, Louisiana. The local place you can turn to for all of your metal building needs. Notice I said local, not Houston, not Dallas, not Atlanta, but right here in Gonzales. Visit them at their brand new state-of-the-art website at communitysteelco.com or pick up the phone and give them a call today to answer all of your questions on your metal buildings, roofing and sheet metal, and any other steel needs you or your business need at 225-647-2020.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
It was a humid day. Barefoot children play, looking for that summer shade. Time just slips away. Oh, Louisiana, some kind of hold on me. Like cypress stumps, your roots are planted deep inside of me.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
At Relief Windows, we're more than windows. We're windows, doors, party plank, and vinyl siding. But our #1 product is always customer satisfaction. Visit us online at reliefwindows.com. Oh, by the way, we do shutters too.
From Studio 2 at the Worldwide Sports Center.
I'm Doug Brown. ESPN's Adam Schefter reports the Broncos will bench Russell Wilson for Sunday's game against the Chargers. Jarrett Stidham will start at quarterback. Adam says this could be the beginning of the end for Wilson in Denver.
Sean Payton didn't trade for Russell Wilson. He wasn't the one that engineered that trade. He came in, coached him this year. There were good moments and bad moments. And we see how that went. And so I think this is a message that they're sending that Russell Wilson is not a part of their long-term future.
Adam Schefter, the Broncos have lost 3 of their last 4, but still have an outside chance at a playoff spot. More quarterback news. The Giants will go with Tyrod Taylor for Sunday's game against the Rams. Rookie Tommy DeVito sits after 6 straight starts. He was benched in the second half Monday. And the Commanders will start Jacoby Brissett at quarterback against the 49ers. Sam Howell started the first 15 games. The NBA today approves the sale of controlling interest in the Mavericks from Mark Cuban to the families that run the Las Vegas Sands Casino Company.
Ladies and gentlemen, may I direct your attention to something quite extraordinary?
Now, the Hunt Palmer Show. The Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Live from the Mercedes-Benz of Baton Rouge studios. This is Hunt Palmer.
Hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. Thanks for hanging out with us on this Wednesday. Got Jacob Beck and Casey Gaines back there on the 1s and 2s. Fast-moving first hour. Should be a fast-moving second hour as well. Plenty to get to. Talking LSU football, talking Saints as well. We'll chat with Sharif Ishak about the Saints coming up in about half an hour. Michael Cauble, hoping to check in with him here shortly on the Jim's Firearms Hotline. I said my piece on the New Orleans Saints last week. I talked about how I think that this era needs to end. I talked about how I think that the team, the core pieces to the last 5 to 8 years, the Michael Thomases, the Ryan Ramczyks, the Marshawn Lattimores, the Alvin Kamaras, that group is, in my opinion, DeMario Davis certainly, and Cam Jordan, big pieces to that. That group, to me, is never going to reach championship levels again. Michael Thomas has had a hard time staying healthy. Cam Jordan's productivity has really taken a hit this year. DeMario Davis is still playing at an incredible level, but to ask him to continue to be that guy for 3, 4, 5 more years is a tall ask. Ryan Ramczyk has taken a little bit of a dip in terms of his level of play. Look, Marshawn Lattimore is still a really, really good player, but that's a position that requires a lot of youth, quite frankly. You got to run with those guys, and you lose a half a step, you're in big trouble. I don't know that he has yet, but you fear that day's coming. And so all of this to say, like, the main pieces of this team, I think, are closer to the end of their careers than the beginning. And you've got some young pieces that are exciting. Rashid Shaheed and Chris Olave are really, really strong receivers that are very young. You've gotten some production from Brian Brzee at defensive line, who's been pretty good for you. I think Pete Werner has done a nice job when he's been in there as well. And we'll see what you got in Kendre Miller, who hasn't been able to stay healthy. But for the most part, this is an old team. We've said this time and time and time again. Like, it's the oldest roster in the NFL, and it was built to win this year. I know that it's just the second year of a new head coach. I know that it's the first year with a new quarterback, but there was not a launching ramp here. Like, this needed to pick up and go now, and it just didn't. They're an under 500 team. They were an under 500 team last year. And I just don't know, if you're the New Orleans Saints, how you can fix this quickly. No one wants Cam Jordan's contract. No one wants Michael Thomas's contract. You can potentially move on maybe from Alvin Kamara, but nobody wants Tyrann Mathieu' deal. So it's either dead money on your books, which doesn't help you at all, or an aging, worsening player in your starting lineup. Just not ideal either. You've got all that money invested in Derek Carr, who looks uncomfortable most of the time. Maybe he plays better with a new offensive coordinator next year, but are you really betting on that after a decade that we've seen what Derek Carr is? There's going to be some kind of renaissance. I kind of doubt it. And I don't mean to paint things so bleakly, but I'm struggling with where's the positive. I can name like 5 good young players, but you don't have a lot of money to free up. You're not going to pick high enough in the draft to go get an elite quarterback. You don't think. I mean, you hope you get Lamar Jackson at the end of the first round. You hope you get Jalen Hurts in the second round, but realistically, a lot of your quarterbacks come in the top 10 picks, and I don't know that the Saints are going to have a top 10 pick. And then do you have the capital to go back and move up with draft picks or players on your roster? I don't think so. I don't think the Saints are a desirable trade partner. So what do you do? And I feel like as long as Dennis Lausch is right there and Mickey Loomis is right there beside him, that they're going to keep putting the pedal to the metal and trying to sign free agents and trying to build around this group. And I just look at it and go, yeah. I mean, it's not like the transfer portal where you can just go get Deion Sanders it and go get 40 new dudes. Doesn't work like that in the NFL. You're going to draft 5 or 6 and then grab a handful in free agency. But you can't really overhaul your roster quickly in the NFL. And some teams do it. The Bears have done it. The Panthers are trying to do it. The Texans, trade all your good players, get as many assets as you can, tank the season, have an awful year. The Saints don't do that. They're not a 2-15 team. But you're just kind of in purgatory with the way that this is operating, because you don't bottom out to get that great pick, and you've got a ceiling on how good you can be with this group. And so I look at the results on Sunday, and I see that the Bucs go and get another win and move in front, and now the Saints are in a do or die. It is actually a must-win coming up on Sunday. The term gets overused a lot, but it's actually a must-win. If they don't win, it's over. You'd be 2 games behind Tampa with 1 to play, and having lost both times to them, it's over. And I try to conjure up some, you got kind of a mini bye here after a short week last week that you got to rally the troops, come out and play your best game, and then see what you can do in week 18. But I just have a hard time psyching myself up to get there when I realize all the stuff I've just been telling you about for 8 minutes about the state of the roster and the salary cap and the ages of the players and the productivity level. I just can't sell myself on, man, just get into the playoffs. It's still right there. I mean, I yelled and screamed last week about how every time they play a decent team, they get smoked. And that's true. It's not really the point of this segment. It's just to kind of say I'm watching the NFL and I'm watching teams fighting for home field advantage and buys and playoff jockeying. And I'm looking at the Saints going, man, they feel a hell of a lot long way away from like this. They feel like they're 3 years from being in that mix. And that would involve a different head coach and a different offensive coordinator and a different quarterback and a roster made up of almost entirely different guys. It just feels bleak around the Saints right now. Not bleak like Carolina, where you just came off an atrocious season and had an even worse one. Bleak like, man, this is so mediocre, and when does it end? Not sure. We'll talk to Sharif about it coming up in 20 minutes and see if he can shed a little more positivity on the way things are going with the Saints. I don't think that's going to happen based on the performance last week in Los Angeles, but we'll see. Sometimes Sharif surprises us with a little bit of his positivity. We'll take a time out. We'll come back. We'll switch gears, go back to LSU, and then we'll have Sharif coming up at the bottom of the hour. You're listening to a Wednesday edition of The Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show.
One Bath and Closets. OneBathAndClosets.com is the website. David Duvall and his team, 30 years redesigning and remodeling bathrooms and closets. When you think of a remodel, you think of beautifying your living situation, upgrading it in that way, but also if you're doing a remodel, safety can be a big deal to you. Whether it's in your home or a loved one's home, how about non-slip floors in the bathroom? One Bath and Closets can do that. How about some guardrails around the bathtub and toilet areas so safely maneuver the bathroom, maybe an aging loved one in your life. Maybe it's a walk-in tub. They can do that as well over at One Bath and Closets. And it's not a situation where you're going to have to call 3 or 4 contractors to make this thing happen. You call one. You call David Duvall at One Bath and Closets. He comes over. They lay out a plan. They get that job done. They do it right the first time and leave the competition behind. Call today. Go to the website, onebathandclosets.com. Request that free consultation and get into the bathroom of your dreams. Onebathandclosets.com.
In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's a luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
I've been doing business with Luber for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985-206-9096. Learn the game to love the game.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal.
On Thursday's OTB, latest out of the Tigers in Wisconsin. Should you even be cheering for the Saints at this point? And a brand new edition of Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
So I painted a pretty grim picture there, talking black and gold. I'm aware of that, and I apologize. I don't want to sully your holiday season here with negative talk about the Saints. I've got a little bit of positivity to potentially toss your way here. And it's about the LSU defense. I think there's a chance that LSU plays pretty well on defense in this game. Hear me out. And I have not said that about LSU all year, really. I've expected LSU's defense to be very, very poor week in and week out, really since they got off the field against Ole Miss. Like, after you watch that and what they did against Florida State, you're like, okay, any confidence in this unit it's got to be really worked for because it was wind sprints for Ole Miss, just up and down the field, no chance to get a stop. And I've kind of been down on the defense all year since then. And I think with the healthy Mekhi Wingo, who has announced he's going to play in the ballgame, and another month for Stamps and Toviano to work out with the ones at corner, and with the opponent being a big piece to this puzzle, I think LSU's defense could pose some real resistance. This is a Wisconsin team that LSU will play on New Year's Day that is really limited on offense. Mordecai Brown, their quarterback, has been really mediocre. Their top rusher is not playing in this game. This is a team that really struggled to score on Ohio State, really struggled to score on Iowa, really struggled to score on Northwestern. And LSU's defense is not good, but it ought to have more talent on it than Northwestern's. Okay? So we've changed. It's a sliding scale. We've changed our expectation level for this defensive unit. I don't think anybody would suggest that they expect LSU to put the clamps on Wisconsin and hold them to 6. Like, I don't think that's going to happen. But I think LSU can hold Wisconsin to 17 to 20. Very much in the same way that they held Auburn to 18 this year. Because I think that LSU is healthier than they've been on defense in a while. They've had a month to prepare. And Wisconsin's offense is not very creative and not very good. So I think if I'm trying to assign like values, I think 70% of this is based in Wisconsin's offense and 30% is based on LSU getting healthier and playing a little bit better. So I'm not trying to suggest that this Wisconsin offense is just a panacea and everything's going to be perfect on the defense. Like, I'm not there. But I do think the combination of all of this means that LSU can put up a fight. If LSU can stop the run and make Wisconsin into a passing team, I think the Badgers are in big trouble because I don't think they have very good wide receivers. They don't have home run hitters out there. This is a team that wants to get behind that big physical offensive line and run straight ahead. And that's where Greg Penn and Whit Weeks and Harold Perkins and Mekhi Wingo and Mason Smith, Savion Jones have got to win more often than not at the point of attack and stop the run. And if they do that, then you ought to be okay on the back end. And that's basically what the situation was against Auburn. Auburn couldn't really get the running game going against LSU. Jarquez Hunter and that group, they couldn't really run it, and that put the game in the hands of Peyton Thorne, who is not very good, and neither is Mordecai Brown. So we've talked a lot about how people are going to react to Garrett Nussmeier and what he looks like in this game and going into next year. And I think a lot of the same comments can be made for this defense based on their performance in this game, because it's possible that you would field a defensive unit next year that has Savion Jones, Mason Smith, Mekhi Wingo, Braden Swinson, Deshaun Womack, Greg Penn, Whit Weeks, Ashton Stamps, Javian Toviano, Sage Ryan. Like, that's 10 guys I just listed that could very well be in your defensive rotation next year. So in the same way that you're getting that look at Garrett Nussmeier, you're getting that look at this defense potentially too. LSU hasn't been as active in the portal as I thought. Go get a safety in Jordan Gilbert. Sean Washington comes in from junior college on the defensive line, and you figure those two guys definitely have a chance to factor in. And we'll see if anything else happens or shakes out over the next couple of weeks. But now you've had really, since the bye week is when Toviano and Stamps took over on the outside. At that point, you had moved on from Harris and Chestnut. Obviously, J.K. Johnson wasn't around. And then Zy Alexander had gotten hurt. So that was when you tossed him into the fire against Alabama, and they've been out there now for 2 months practicing. And then you bring in Mekhi Wingo, who's missed 2 months. So that's two sizable differences where you've got an interior defensive player that wasn't there, and then your corners maybe growing up a little bit over the course of 2 months where they're getting a lot more reps than they had been getting. Because there will be very few questions on the offensive side of the ball moving into next year. There will be a lot of questions on defense. And maybe some of them get answered in this game. If LSU goes out there in this game and gives up 40 points, I'll be grossly disappointed. And I wouldn't say that against Texas A&M, wouldn't say that against Ole Miss or Bama. Like I just assumed that they were going to give up 40 in those games. Not in this game against Wisconsin. Limited offense, opt-outs, poor quarterback play, no results this year. Nothing indicates that Wisconsin should be able to go up and down the field. I think LSU's defense is gonna pack a little bit of a punch in this game tomorrow. I'll have my final pick on tomorrow's show, but I think that I think this is a really good matchup for LSU's defense. And if Jaden Daniels is playing in this game, I think I would pick LSU to win the game by 20 points. I think it would look very, very similar to the Auburn game that LSU won 48-18. That's what I think there are a lot of similarities between Wisconsin and Auburn. Don't think Wisconsin can go up the field like Missouri did, like Ole Miss did, like Florida State did, like Bama did. But I guess we'll see. That's why they play the games, and we'll see LSU and Wisconsin coming up at 11 o'clock on Monday. As far as our coverage goes, from a guarantee perspective, we'll do it like the 11 o'clock games that we've had this year. LSU certainly had one up there at Davis Wade, and Starkville, they played one in Missouri as well. So we'll have at 7 o'clock, Charles Hanniger will have Eagle 98.1 game day. That'll be early start on New Year's Day for Hanny, but he'll get you rolling at 7 o'clock for 2 hours. Then they'll hand it off to the LSU Sports Radio Network. I will take over, myself, Marlon Favorite, and Brandon Taylor at 9 o'clock. We will go to about 10:30, hand it off to the broadcast team in Tampa. They'll have your call of the game 30 minutes after it goes final. The Fighting Tiger postgame report will be with you for an hour. That's me, Brandon, and Marlon. And then after the game goes final, 90 minutes after it goes final, Eagle on 8.1's Game Days postgame show will go for 3 hours, an extended look at LSU and Wisconsin. They'll also be previewing the college football playoff, which will be going on while they're on the air for Eagle on 8.1 Game Days postgame show, which will be coming to you from Rouse's. So busy day coming up on Monday with LSU and Wisconsin. All right, we'll step aside, take a time out. When we come back, Sharif Ishak from WDSU, chatting all things Saints and a little bit of Pels as well. Come back with us.
You are now listening to The Hunt Palmer Show.
Jersey Mike's, Highway 30 in Gonzales near the new Heritage Shopping Center. I was driving by Highway 30 today as I was coming in from New Orleans, where I stayed last night. Didn't stop at Jersey Mike's because it was like 6 o'clock in the morning. But if you are passing by Gonzales, stop on by and see our friends Highway 30 in Gonzales. It's Jersey Mike's. You can get that original Italian. You can also get the fantastic club sub. And they do great catering work as well. Fantastic stuff over there at Jersey Mike's. You can get individual box lunches. You can get individual wrapped subs in a big box. That's what they brought us over here at Guarantee. They were gone in about 10 minutes. Fantastic stuff over there at Jersey Mike's. And if you tell them the Hunt Palmer Show sent you over there, 20% off on your catering orders at Jersey Mike's. Jersey Mike's, a sub above.
Our listeners fire off their opinions on the jimsfirearms.net hotline at 499-1045. Keep listening for your next chance to shoot us your thoughts with the jimsfirearms.net hotline on 1045 ESPN Baton Rouge.
There it is, the extra mile. on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected. Supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.
Hey, it's Matt Moscona. For years, you've heard me tell you about Insurance Network of Louisiana, helping you find better coverage for less money. But it's not just for your home and auto. They also offer commercial property. So, retail stores, professional offices like doctors, dentists, attorneys, clothing boutiques. Insurance Network of Louisiana can find you better coverage for less money. They service the entire state of Louisiana, and they're local. So call today at 293-0450 or lainsurance.net.
The Windsor Senior Living Community in Mandeville, Louisiana is a beautiful, vibrant apartment community geared towards seniors. They are nestled right in the heart of Mandeville, where seniors live a more carefree lifestyle in spacious apartments with the peace of mind that comes from having a little extra help. Call the Windsor at 985-624-8040 to schedule a lunch and tour. Come see how the Windsor can be your passport to peace of mind.
Would a couple that just came from a couples massage have any use for the massage seats of the Infiniti QX60? Yes, it appears they would. With driver and passenger massage seats, mute all your notifications and feel infinitely you.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals. But many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
Dylan Cruz here to tell you about Six Rings Baseball and Softball Camp. If you live on the North Shore and play ball, go to Six Rings Camps with former LSU assistant coach Dan Canaveri. His knowledge is second to none, and your child will improve and have fun doing it. Camps were held at Coquille Park and Six Rings Academy in Covington with 4 sessions over the summer. Full day and morning only sessions are available from ages 7 to 13. Go to sixringsbaseball.com or call 985.
Join me and Jimmy Ott for the Thursday edition of Live at Lunch from Jolie Pearl Oyster Bar and Town Square Pizza. Dwayne Colucci and Paul Nolan will be with us live at lunch, 11 a.m. weekdays on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
You're listening to the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
Moving right along, hour number 2, Hunt Palmer Show, 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge. We were not on the air yesterday. A little day off for the station. So we didn't have a chance to chat with our guy Sharif Ishak from WDSU on the Jim's Firearms Hotline in his normal Tuesday slot. So instead, we bumped him back to Wednesday. How are you, Sharif?
I would love to know how your viewers think about my negativity this year. That's a poll I really want to take about all the negativity going with everything in New Orleans sports.
Well, what are you supposed to feel? Like it's great that the Saints are under 500 against the worst schedule in the history of the league?
Yeah, there ain't nobody buying it. Like I think you get like tired of hearing like the post games of we're getting close, where we fought really tough, we just didn't start great. I mean, I'm like, dude, I can just play the same sound bites every week. I mean, it's the same thing. It's like stop saying and start doing. That's all they're saying, the same stuff.
Why do you think they're falling behind so quickly in just about every game?
Coaching, execution, game plan, sense of urgency. It's a little bit of everything. I truly, truly think, I know as much as people want to blame Derek Carr, and he's part of the problem, I do think the bigger problem is coaching in the roster. I mean, outside of Carr, I mean, you're just getting beat by better teams. They have not led a single second against any of the teams that are 500 or better. at the time that they played them. I mean, that's just not good football. You are what you are. You're a bad football team. They barely beat some of these bad teams. And I just think personally it's game plan, execution, coaching. I mean, as simple as it gets.
You put any stock into the late comeback there? I mean, the late comeback against Detroit, late comeback against the Rams. I mean, anything there? Nope. I'm with you. But I just want to hear from you.
Nothing. Absolutely nothing. Like, there's no such thing as a participation trophy when you lose a game. A loss is a loss. You should have had more urgency when you kick the ball off. I just don't understand the decision making. Like, Dennis Allen, throughout the entire season, doesn't want to go for it on fourth down, and all of a sudden now you're going for it on fourth down, and it costs you a touchdown before the half. But you wouldn't kick the field goal from the 37-yard line indoors. There's
in the first quarter.
No way. First drive, first quarter. Like, I don't understand his decision making. Like, I'm sure he is tense. He is, he knows the job is on the line, and they're trying to win an important game. But like, he folded. I mean, just absolutely folded with the game plan and the coaching in that game. It was not great.
What's his tone like in press conferences these days, especially after the loss last week?
Same. I mean, same. He hasn't, like, his tone has been the same from, game 1 to game 15. It's all been the same. We got a game next week. We have to fight better. We have to start better. It's just the same monotone Dennis Allen. He doesn't get too high, doesn't get too low. He's not Sean Payton. You're not going to get the fiery if you ask a tough question. Look, next question. That's not for you. You're not getting that from Dennis. He'll answer it, but you're not getting to get the fired up Dennis Allen. I mean, that's not who he is. That's not his personality.
So how do Saints fans feel about these last 2 weeks? So you're pulling for losses to get a better draft pick and get the coach out of town? You're trying to get in the playoffs? I mean, what's the tone in New Orleans?
The playoffs, it's over. That's done. They're not getting into the playoffs, and forget about it. I don't care about the minute chance they have, the little bitty chance they have. They needed this to happen, that to happen. It ended like a few weeks ago whenever they just couldn't beat the teams they were supposed to beat. All right. So most fans, and I don't think anybody's going to disagree, they want them to lose out. They absolutely want them to lose these final 2 games.
Is that what it would take to facilitate a change? What if they split them? They beat Atlanta in an empty Superdome next week.
My guess is no, the change isn't going to happen head coach wise if it's split. But if these losses are bad, watch out. I mean, you're going to have to wipe the board clean.
Like, I think they're going to get drubbed in Tampa. Tampa's playing really well, and the Saints, I think they're going to get beat on the road against Tampa. And if that happens, like, this dome is going to be empty for Atlanta, and the people that are there are going to be booing. So I just can't imagine that even if they were to win that game in front of that type of crowd and that kind of energy, I can't imagine that would not get the management's attention.
Well, the issue is the number one place you have to start is management. Management has to realize that there's a problem, because I feel like they don't think they have a problem. And it went back to those words that Mickey Loomis said on WWL radio a few weeks ago about after the Lions game, and the fans bought the Lions fans bought the tickets, and he blamed it on economics.
Yeah.
That's not you know. See, now you're realizing that you don't have a problem. Your product is bad and boring. Whenever you start realizing you have a problem like that, don't tell me it's economics. You have a bad team. You need to fix it. I understand there's like games left in the season. He doesn't want to say, well, this is bad football. He's also one of those guys who doesn't say we have a problem. He's always been the same. He is also the same type of guy. Win or lose, you don't get what you think you should get from a GM. I honestly think he needs to feel a little bit of the heat too, because they're in this spot, Hunt, this year because of prior mistakes and decisions in the draft, free agency, maybe even coaching. You have to take charge as a GM. Once you saw it was getting bad this year, you should have started with the offensive coaching. Should have got rid of Pete Carmichael. Should have told him, hey, fine, you can use Ronald Curry as your offensive coordinator. If you don't want to go out, you don't really go outside the building in the middle of the season. Use Ronald Curry since he knows the system. Maybe it changes things up. But no, they preach continuity. They preach we're getting close. We need time to gel. It's like, that's not winning football. That is loser's mentality. That's not how you get your fan base behind you. That's how you get your fan base booing and not buying tickets. I'm interested to see how the season tickets go after this year.
If I gave you Mickey Loomis's job, what do the next 2 years look like in terms of the Saints organization? What direction would you go?
Well, fire the GM. I mean, first of all, I will never know how to work the cap. I mean, Kai Harley and Mickey are great at doing that because they're going to have to manipulate it as always to get underneath the cap. But there's not really much you can do with your roster because of that. And they have some issues. So you're running it back for the most part with your roster. And if everyone who wants Derek Carr gone, that's not happening. Sorry to tell you. He's back for at least one more season. And I will say maybe giving him a new offensive coordinator and an entire staff might get better. And you know what? Part of me is like, all right, they're probably going to keep Dennis and let that and do exactly that. But if that fails miserably, that's whenever I would pull the plug. I as a GM, honestly, I would pull the plug this year. Like, I would get new coaches and everything, and everyone's like, well, he's going to inherit this roster. What more could he do? Oh, well, you give him 1 year with this roster, and then you move on after that. You'll have high draft picks if you're not that good again. And I'm just going to roll with it. Just put a new coaching staff. You need a new identity. It really, Hunt. When I tell you it is stale and boring, it's boring football. I mean, I just sit in the dome. The atmosphere is the same as the team. It's just stale. It's boring. It's not winning football. It's no one wants to watch that. The players, dude, they're playing their best. I mean, I hate saying it's stale and boring. They really are giving their best and trying, but it's not 60 minutes. It's just like 20 minutes sometimes, and it's just not working. They need a new voice.
Is there any chance they draft a quarterback?
Boy, this is why they need to lose these last two games. If they sitting in that top 8 spot and Jaden is there, you do it. Now, will they? I mean, they could be in the same situation as they were in 2017 when Mahomes was one pick away and the Chiefs got him. And if Jaden's there when you call it the pick and you're at that position, you can't pass over a future quarterback, knowing that how it worked out last time. You have to set yourself up for the future, even if it doesn't help your team next year. At least he sits for 1 year behind Carr. I mean, I would do it. If you're asking me as a GM, I'm 100% absolutely doing it if Jaden Daniels is there. Now they have to lose those 2 games. Knowing them, they're going to accidentally win these 2 games and ruin their draft position.
You think they're going to win on Sunday?
No, I don't think they are. I mean, come on, man. Well, I mean, it's so weird because, like, I keep thinking they're going to lose, but they're going to mess around and win these final 2 games and say, oh, we have momentum going into the offseason.
Great.
We're moving in the right direction. We're 1 win away, and it's once again an absolute disingenuous thing to say. I mean, it's you're not.
Reminds me of Tennessee football in like the Butch Jones years, where at the end of the season they played like Missouri, Vanderbilt, Kentucky, and then they played in like the Belt Bowl against NC State, so they'd win 4 in a row. Like, oh, they kind of got some momentum, and then September comes around and you lose to Florida and Georgia again, and you're right back where you were. But you thought, because you played some bad teams at the end, that you had it figured out, but you really didn't.
The problem is it's just never been – it's been inconsistent, consistently inconsistent all year. Win 2 games, lose 2 or 3 games. Win 2 games, lose 2 or 3 games. It's just – I mean, it's just – they've got to get a different voice in there. I mean, it's just not working. I mean, there's no electricity. There's no juice, man. When Teddy Bridgewater announced his retirement a couple weeks ago, I was looking at all those locker room celebrations. Like, they don't have that anymore. It's just like, where is all the juice and the fun? It's just I don't see it. It's just like, looks like they're just going through the motions, and they know that, like, it's coming to an end. And when Cam Jordan was frustrated after the game, which is rare, for him to say some of the stuff he said after that loss against the Rams, it's pretty bad. It's getting pretty bad.
Sharif Ishak's our guest, WDSU down there in New Orleans. All right, let's transfer things over to the Pels. They've got a little bit of a John Morant issue, which has cost him some games.
Well, I think I'm never going to go to any more games. I went to that game last week, the Rockets game Saturday, and last night's game, and they lost all 3. Maybe it's me, or maybe they just can't hold double-digit leads. They have now blown 9 double-digit leads this season. And a lot of it has to do with late-game execution, turnovers, offense, defense, free throws. We'll just start with last night's game, because I think last night's game will pretty much sum up most of their issues for this season. Last 2 minutes and 42 seconds, they scored only 2 points. It was Jonas to give them a 4-point lead with 48 seconds. Brandon Ingram, the turnover with minute 45 up 6, inexcusable. You don't throw that pass into Jonas the way he did. You got to make free throws. I mean, it's simple as that. You can blame the officiating, that Herb Jones had the rebound. It should have never been called, blah, blah, blah. You don't need to be in that position. But once they figure out how to, execute late in the game, offense and defense, maybe they become a better team. But right now, once again, like the Saints, they are who their record says they are. They are a 17-14 team who cannot close out games. They play 3.5 quarters and just absolutely fold at the end of games because your stars are going missing. Zion and Brandon Ingram in the fourth quarter combined for 5 points, and Zion had all 5 of those points. Like, that cannot happen if you have 2 stars. So it is not working out with your 2 stars on the court. So they have to find a way, David Griffin, Willie Green, what they want to do moving forward. Because if this is not going to be sustainable long term, you have to ask yourself, do we need to move one of these guys and get somebody else in here to make it work? Because it isn't working through 31 games. And it's just unfortunate because they're healthy and they're not winning more games. They should have 20 wins at least.
How big a sample size do you need to know whether or not this BI Zion mission is going to be one that can work?
The problem is like we see it one game and then you'd see it go away for 3 games. I think at some point you should know this when enough is enough. I feel like this is enough. Like you've seen it for a few years now. And over like, well, they've been hurt, not on the court together, but they need time to gel. This whole gelling chemistry thing is just kind of like it boggles in my mind sometimes. Like, no, I mean, they've had their time. They should not be like squandering games at the end. I mean, those 2 guys should be taking over games, not sitting back and scoring a total of 5 points in the fourth quarter. You blew a 14-point lead in the fourth quarter. That should not happen when you have stars like that, so-called stars like that. They have to be better than that. And if it isn't working out by the All-Star break, maybe you start asking yourself, what could we get if someone is really interested in one of the 2 guys? I know it sounds like a hot take, but look, 17-14, the schedule they've had already, they've had some pretty easy games they've lost, and they have had some much, much more winnable games against good teams that they just, once again, blew, and most of them are coming at home.
Not a lot of positivity these days down in New Orleans. What are we going to do? When are we going to get it back?
Ask me on January, 8th? See what happens on Black Monday or January 8th after the NFL season's over. And then that schedule for the Pelicans in January is going to be treacherous. I need to see how they can maintain their record in the month of January. So we'll give us a 3-week span from January 8th through the end of the month of January and see where we are with both teams.
Yeah, Pels in that stretch in January, 5-game West Coast road trip includes Sacramento, Golden State, Denver, and then a back-to-back in Dallas as well. So we'll be talking about it. Thanks, Sharif.
I'm sorry about the negativity, man. It was good for a while. When it started for the Saints, it was good, and then Pelicans were doing well. Then, well, things happen.
It's week to week. We'll talk next week. Thanks, Sharif.
No problem.
Sharif Ishak, WDSU, usually with us on Tuesdays. Bumped him back a day there. We still wanted to get some New Orleans updates for you good people here that listen to us each and every day. We'll take one more time out, come back, and play some Take It or Leave It and close things up. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
The Hunt Palmer Show. In times of need, get a full list of phone numbers, websites, and other important emergency information on the Demco Stormwatch page at 1045ESPN.com.
Gulf Coast Bank and Trust is giving our customers the power to bank anywhere, anytime during this challenging event. And we're right there with you. Our mobile banking app is a smart way to manage your money and time. Gulf Coast Bank and Trust, the bank that cares about you.
The importance of doing this Fortified program and offering it to people down here is, number one, the only real chance you're going to get to do this is when you put on a new roof or build new. And through companies like HUDCO, who's kind of leading the way in this thing, it's going to offer the customers a huge advantage in the insurance market and the price of their insurance.
You know, we're not looking to make a fortune off fortifying. We're trying to give you a better product than our competitor at the moment. I'm trying to do something that he can. I'm trying to give you something better. So a lot of these insurance jobs, you're getting a re-roof, you're only paying your deductible. Let's sit down and talk about the Fortified and let's see what it does to your insurance premium. You're getting a steal.
Yeah.
You're getting a brand new roof and a Fortified certificate for your deductible, essentially. I think we're rocking and rolling.
The interior of an Infiniti is thoughtfully designed to be all about you. And by you, we mean every version of you. Because there's luxury you can feel, and there's luxury that lets you feel. Infinitely you. Experience luxury like never before with Infiniti Premium Care, included with the 2023 QX80 at your local retailer.
Electricity is all around us, and our families depend on it. Every day is sparked by the power of a cold drink or a warm meal, a movie night, and a comforting light at the end of a dark hallway. From sunrise to sunset, playtime to bedtime, our team is ready to take care of your electrical needs. Even in the case of an after-hours emergency, the light in your life shines brighter with Mr. Electric.
I've been doing business with Luba for 25 years. They're dependable, trustworthy. It's just the attention to detail with our clients.
Our folks have years and years of experience. They're highly trained professionals, but many companies have that asset. What I'd like to think makes Luba a bit different is that we use those talents in a way that truly is dedicated to serving the needs of the folks who depend on us.
On Thursday's OTB, latest out of the Tigers in Wisconsin. Should you even be cheering for the Saints at this point? And a brand new edition of Munchies with Chef Michael Johnson. Off the bench, 7 to 10 a.m., 104.5 ESPN.
This is the Hunt Palmer Show on 104.5 ESPN Baton Rouge.
All right, closing up shop here. Excited for tomorrow's show. Pack them in tomorrow because I'm out on Friday, so it'll be my last show before LSU and Wisconsin play in the bowl game. I'll have my picks for LSU and Wisconsin. I'll have my pick for Saints and Bucks. We'll chat with Chris Blair. We'll chat with Luke Johnson. We have a lot going on tomorrow's show, so be sure and hang out with us. Our Thursday show is always brought to you by Rouse's. Good people over there at Rouse's. All right, let's play some Take It or Leave It.
I'll take it. Not on purpose, but it works out.
Yeah.
All right, first one here. We've got Joe Milton, who is opting out of the bowl game for Tennessee. Also, of note, another similar story. Tate Rodemaker for FSU also opting out. Okay, you played in like 2 games and didn't play that well.
And are the sole reason why your team's not going to the playoff because they deemed you weren't good enough.
But anyways, Milton will become an NFL starter. Take it or leave it.
I'm going to leave that. Yeah. Joe, just go play in the bowl game, man. You're not a first-round pick. You're not a second-round pick. You're not a third-round pick. You just throw the ball really far. Like, I don't...
but that's what got Anthony Richardson a first-round pick. He could throw really far.
Well, Anthony Richardson was, like, fast, too.
Yeah, that's true. He's more athletic, but yeah.
Milton's just overthrow Joe, in my opinion. So, yeah, I think that's a little bit much. He will not become an NFL starter.
The Chiefs lost to the lowly Las Vegas Raiders 20-14, with the offense contributing a whopping minus 18 yards in the first quarter, the lowest total in over a decade in the NFL. Taylor Swift is the Yoko Ono of the Chiefs. Take it or leave it.
If you speak ill of Taylor Swift, like, they're going to come after you.
You're right. The Swifties are going to come for me. Even though we're on a ESPN radio station in Baton Rouge, they will come for me.
Look, they will. They'll find you. My wife's one of these people. They're just obsessed with Taylor Swift. They got everything's always. This is her end game, Beck. This is end game for Taylor Swift. They're in love. Look, I don't think that it has much to do with Taylor Swift, and more probably to do with the fact that their wide receivers aren't very good.
That would probably be the
didn't
reason,
replace
yeah.
Tyreek Hill. He just didn't do that. So, and plus Kelsey's getting a little older as well. So yeah, it's a bummer as I sit here like a guy that's been pulling for the Bengals for the last 3 years to know that, man, like that used to be like the team you're gonna have to get through, and they're a tick down now. Baltimore looks great, no doubt about that.
Even the Bills look a tick down too.
Yeah. So it's a wasted opportunity for the Bengals, but I don't think it's Taylor's fault.
Yeah. Newly minted Dodger Shohei Ohtani gave pitcher Joe Kelly, a teammate of his, gave his wife Ashley a new Porsche as a thank you gift for Kelly giving Ohtani his jersey number 17, which of course he wore at the Angels. Giving your teammate's wife a Porsche for their number, take it or leave it.
Look, I gotta leave this because Shohei's only making $2 million next year.
That's true. I mean, a Porsche is like six figures at least.
That's a big chunk of change there. That maybe he can get some deferred payments on the Porsche.
That's
and
true.
He can
That's
pay
true.
for it in 10 years when he
Yeah.
makes $68 million. I think that's just fine. I think Shohei's got plenty of cash, and if you want to be nice and because you got your number, I think that's a great thing. So good for you, Shoho, and good for Joe Kelly's wife Ashley, who's got a new whip.
The New York Mets, who finished fourth in their division in 12 games below 500, paid a whopping $101 million in luxury tax for their 2023 payroll, which was $375 million. Steve Cohen is going to rethink his strategy. Take it or leave it.
You got to take it. He already has. They're not really signing anybody.
Yeah.
They went nuts that start, and they went and got Scherzer, and they went and got Lindor, and they spent a ton of money bringing guys in there, and it didn't work out at all. I think I want that type of ownership to succeed because I think that's how you should run a business. Oh, I got to spend $101 million just in luxury taxes. I'm trying to put a great product on the field. Awesome, as opposed to some of these guys that are just trying to cut corners every single chance they can to not spend money. But look, you look at the Mets, you look at the Padres, two teams that spent just astronomical amounts of money and it didn't work. Now, Texas spent a bunch of money too. They went and got Seager, and they went and got Simeon. They
were only like $1 million, I think, over the tax.
They got DeGrom.
So yeah,
I mean, they went and spent some money, and it worked out for them. I'd really like the Cubs to spend some money at some point. Do something. You know, like that meme on Twitter where it's like trying to poke it.
Yes.
Like, do something. I do something, Cubs. I need players.
All right, last one here. Denver Nuggets forward Aaron Gordon will be out indefinitely after getting bit by a dog in the face and hand.
Nice.
It's not been revealed if it's his dog or if it was a friend's or whatever the situation was. But anyway, he needed 21 stitches in his right hand, so it was a pretty bad injury. Losing a player to dog bites. Take it or leave it.
I can't believe that. That's a tough scene. It sounds like a big dog. I'm not a big dog guy. I'm a little dog guy. We had a little terrier mutt when I was growing up. We had a little poodle as well. I'm big on the pets that you can like pick up.
You're a
and
fan of
really
the cat,
little.
I think you have one.
I've got a cat. Teeny's incredible. Doesn't bite many faces, although she does at times do a little bit of biting and a little bit of scratching, but it's in a playful manner.
Yes.
But yeah, dog bites are no joke. A buddy of mine had to get an attorney involved because this dog has bitten people twice on their street, and like you can't let it out of the house or something.
That's not good.
That's not good. 2 dog bites. That dog might not need to be outside. Like
Yeah.
we gotta do something about multiple infractions. One thing happens one time, like it's a dog. It becomes a trend. We have a significant issue. So hopefully, Aaron Gordon is okay.
How's the saying go? If once it's an anomaly, twice it's a trend. Is that
yeah, something like that? It's a bad trend when you got biting people's faces. That's not great. So speedy recovery to Aaron Gordon. That's it for Take It or Leave It here on this Wednesday. Open the show today talking about Wisconsin's defense and what LSU needs to do to attack them in the bowl game. You can find that segment on Hunt on LSU on YouTube. JD Bickell is always with us on Wednesdays. He was here at 1:15 talking all things college football, including the college football play. If it was a What If Wednesday, we had some news about Lance Hurd that I got to. I'm sure Russo will have a little bit more of that coming up. And Lance Hurd reportedly, according to the guys at On 3, not with the team in Tampa at this point. No reason has been given as to why Lance Hurd is not there, but the report is that he is not. Chatted with Sharif Ishak, WDSU, at 2:30 about all things Saints and Pels, and it was kind of a sad conversation, quite frankly, because there's not a lot positive going on with those two right now. If you missed any of the show, you can always catch it on demand, 1045ESPN.com's on-demand tab, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google, wherever you find your sound, you can find us. You can find my stuff on YouTube at Hunt on Saints, as well as Hunt on LSU. So we really appreciate it if you go and subscribe up to all of that. That's going to just about do it for us here. Matt is out this week, so the incomparable Matthew Musa will move from the production chair over to the pilot seat here, and he'll get you home from work on After Further View coming up from 3 to 6. We're back tomorrow talking all things Saints and LSU, as well as the college football playoff. Have a great Wednesday, everybody. It's the Hunt Palmer Show.
His name was Cain. He had a horse along the countryside. I saw him ride. One day they found him.
Life in Louisiana is a song. A symphony of sound, colors, and movement. Life is here, now. For life's moments, big and small, always there. The right card, the right care.
There it is, the extra mile, on the border of expected and extraordinary for those willing to go further, like vans customized for work or play, with safety and tech to keep you connected, supported by a 5-star sales, service, and finance team, and backed by the 1-star you know. So go the extra mile. It's never crowded, because so few have what it takes to go there. Mercedes-Benz Vans.